little big noon drama, though, broke the other night. You got reports coming from Front Office Sports that Ohio State is barring Barstool Sports and their college football show from being on campus in Columbus for their show. And then it's allegedly keeping Dave Portnoy, who's now part of Big Noon, from being in the stadium for Big Noon Kickoff. Now, that's how Front Office Sports reported it. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo comes out and says, hey, talk to some folks, talk to the folks, actually, the person who is in charge of Ohio State athletics, athletic director for Ohio State, Ross Bjork. He says, hey, it's a Fox thing. Dave Portnoy not on the main desk for Big Noon Kickoff. The way the show works, if you're not on the main desk, you don't go to the main desk inside of the stadium. So it's a Fox decision. It's not our call. We're not banning him. And there's been a lot of he said, she said on social media. Dave Portnoy came out and pretty much said, no, you know what? He doubled down and said, you did ban me from being in the stadium. You did tell us here at the Barstool College Football Show we can't be on campus. And here's what my gut says. Because I whenever we have your word against theirs, you kind of just go to reading the context clues, trying to get just a pulse of it. How does it feel? Here's how it feels to me. If I'm Ohio State, I probably don't want a Michigan super fan in the stadium before we kick off against Texas. I probably don't want that. Now, I also don't think this report is just completely made up that Ohio State did not want Dave Portnoy in the stadium. I also don't think it's completely made up that Big Noon Kickoff and the way that the desk works, I don't think you take people not on the desk inside the stadium. So the other thing that's interesting here is Ross Dellinger spoke to a Big Ten spokesperson, and the way that it was phrased to him is Dave Portnoy won't appear not just in the shoe for Texas-Ohio State pregame, he won't appear inside any stadium of any conference school this year. So with that being the other part of the information, I think this was very much so a similar situation where you're going to a party and you text your friend, hey, is so-and-so coming? You don't like so-and-so. You don't want to be there if so-and-so is going to be there. They text you back, no, they won't be there. Okay, so they're not going to be there to begin with. But if they were going to be there, you would have had an issue with it. There would have been friction. You would have done something within your power to probably have them not be there, is my guess. So is Ohio State behind this? I don't think they're 110% behind the Dave Portnoy thing. I think they're probably behind the Barstool College Football Show thing. That's the way this reads to me. That's what Barstool is saying pretty loudly across the board is like, hey, y'all did not want us on campus. That was your call. We had to cancel last minute, do the show from the studio. So that reads a little bit more clearly to me. But when I first heard this report and watched this whole thing go down, your first thought when you read the On3 social graphic of Dave Portnoy being banned, the founder of Barstool Sports, a little bit soft, right? For those of y'all that don't know, Dave Portnoy went to Michigan superfan, now a part of Big Noon Kickoff on Fox. Like, it feels a little bit soft if Ohio State is behind it. But then I slept on it for a few hours. Got up the next morning and I was like, you know what? If I'm Ohio State, I'd probably feel the same way. I might take a similar action if Ohio State is behind this. Like, isn't this kind of what college football is about? Pettiness, rivalry, hatred. I don't like you, and guess what? I'm going to go to pretty excessive lengths to make sure you know I don't like you and to make your life hard. If it's Ohio State, Michigan, if it's Texas, Oklahoma, if it's Cornell, Columbia, like it's a rivalry, man. Like, you're not supposed to be on good terms or do anything for the other side. And so if Ohio State is behind this, if it looks soft, it kind of feels that way. But also, I don't think they're all that wrong for having an opinion or doing something in their power to try to keep Michigan influence from impacting the scene in Columbus, Ohio. So you know who really wins this whole thing? You know who really might actually be behind this whole thing? And this is kind of getting the tinfoil hat on, kind of conspiracy sort of vibes. You know who benefits the most from this entire situation? Fox. Right? You now have a pretty sizable story around your pregame show and your new talent that is not now apparently going to be in the stadium for one of the biggest games of week one, if not the biggest game of week one, that just so happens to also be in your primetime spot in the noon kick. Fox is probably going to benefit the most from this because you know what? Even if you weren't going to watch Big Noon on that Saturday morning, might now. You might watch the first few minutes now. You might at least keep up with what's going to happen. And if you're not going to keep up with what's going to happen, I promise you Dave Portnoy is going to cut a promo at some point in time that'll hit your social media feed, and you'll be tuned into that, interact with that. So I don't know that Fox is behind this. I'm not pointing fingers, but I am saying it's very convenient now that the week of the biggest game that you have on your broadcast outside of Ohio State, Michigan, and your new talent has some extra controversy around him not being potentially allowed into the stadium, I don't know. Feels like it works out pretty favorably for the folks at Fox. But again, I'm here for it. This is college football. This is rivalry. This is pettiness. This is hatred. And this is where we are right now. And I'm here for it. I'm down for it. And I cannot wait for this game to happen. I know you can't either.